where, of course, Angel had stepped back due to personal reasons. Now he gets to come back and plays the Hui in this mid lane. We have seen no Azir so far. Again, he is back, he is available. We were expecting Azir to come up once again. Huge priority in the LCK, but it feels like LPL have moved on to other favoured toys in the mid lane.
So this will be the third game all split of Zeri for WE. Prince played it once, Stay played it once. Neither were a success. FoFo going to grab himself a Tristan in the mid lane, so a bit more solo lane presence there for WE and much more scaling down in the bottom lane. But with the Lee Sin not banned, it does mean XiaoFang can go to one of his other signatures. You know, there's the Viego, now there's the Lee Sin.
Again, just the early skirmishes and the ones that which can just press your buttons right and force a fight. Of course, look, we don't really get to talk about top lane for OMG ever. How many games of Udyr is it now? Yeah, it just kind of feels like Cube is sat up there in Groundhog Day.
This will be his 20th of the year so far.
20 Udyr games!
He's played more games of Udyr than, I mean, I don't actually know how many games LEC players will have played at this point, or LCS players, but I reckon it's comparable to just the Udyr games of Cube.
Okay, so if you're a team that didn't qualify for like playoffs in LEC and you only have 9 best of ones in each split, yeah, Cube has played more Udyr games than the bottom teams of LEC have played so far this year on one champion. That is absurd. This guy is just, you know, there are some times where, remember that The Simpsons joke where it's like, Bart, so predictable, always picks Rock. Good old Rock. That's what Cube's doing up here. It's just good old Udyr. He just takes it into everything and he's rarely punished for it, so why not?
Yeah, I mean, look, in previous years, Cube has been the Ornn guy. Now he's swapped over. He's now the Udyr guy. Just loves to play a scaling tank. Twitch banned in the top side, obviously. Expecting some shenanigans there from Abel. He did play one game of Twitch across the split.
It was not good. I remember it. He flashed into Nautilus hooks. They won the game.
I was going to say, it was a win, and that's all that matters, okay? We're not thinking about actual gameplay or analytics.
Yeah,
we're just looking at the results, okay? 100% win rate on Twitch this year.
Wonderful.
Yeah. The Kai'Sa ban as well, to try and slim down the pool for Abel. Could be an angle for aggressive bot lane here. You're against Zeri. Is there a Nymeara angle?
Oh, I mean, it is Abel, and you get to block out that mark ult. Now you mention it. Maybe you could go towards something like the Samira Rowland bot side or something like that, or Samira Nautilus. That could potentially be on the table. It's kind of hard without knowing what the top lane is, though, as well, because if they lock in something like a Renekton, which, of course, Renekton was hugely blind-picked in the LPL. We haven't seen that in the first 2 games in this series today. Not that these players were the ones that were necessarily doing it above all else, but now into the Rek'Sai, it means that you can't dive into the Rek'Sai as easily because you get to play big kind of disengage, but of course, how could we forget Abel's Aphelios? This is a guy which has picked this up and done some fantastic magical work on the hitman down in the bot lane. Makes a lot of sense now that it's Milio coming through as well. You now get Milio against the Maokai ult, so you can cleanse out of that. You can kick the Rek'Sai out of the very telegraphed tunnel as well, so Wayward is once again going to have a hard time getting into this. We said, hey, we need top jungle to have more impact. That's typically the way that they've won. I don't think the Rek'Sai is going to have an easy time with things, but Lwandy does go back to some of his classics on the bot side and goes into that Bard. That's been banned away from W a lot towards the back end of the square.
Yeah, you know, consistently picked alongside that Jhin, but also just happy to play it with this Zeri, have a lot of presence with the double range bot lane, but also it just means he can roam around the map so effectively. Hung on the Maokai as well. There's a lot of control that Bard Maokai can gain on the map, right? Obviously Bard just being able to roam around, but Hung as well, using those saplings can get, you can kind of cheat vision a little bit, so expect a lot of control from the jungle support duo here from WE.
And that's the thing though, WE last game, jungle support duo didn't feel like it was firing on all cylinders. They need to against OMG. Feels like if they give early game advantages to OMG, once again, they're going to get themselves off to a team composition which can press the go button pretty well. I think the Aphelios and the Hui, they are going to do absolute boatloads of damage if you give them that chance. So WE need to see them start stronger in game 2 than they did in game 1 and keep ahead of the game. Slip-ups are not allowed here.
Slip-ups certainly on. This is the first round of playoffs, the first round of the gauntlet for either of these teams. They'd love to make it to double elim. They need to win 3 best of 5s to get there. And this is the first. OMG winning out game number 1. Really strong scaling composition coming out from them here as we head into game number 2. Some powerful Gyos today. The crowd are here and they were ready. We had some lackluster Gyos across the split, but today everyone's out in force. They know playoffs have begun and they are ready to watch it.
I have to say, there are a few crowds in League of Legends that can match a really motivated LPL crowd. To the point where, and the thing is, the LPL crowd travels too. Of course, MSI, that's happening in China this year, so they don't have to do that, which means we'll see if they get to show off their lung capacity when the LPL teams, of course, we will decide which ones of those will be going through from this playoffs as well. But we will see whether they can test that lung capacity. But what really impressed me was how loud the fans were in London for MSI last year, because both of us there, your casting there was fantastic, loved your cast there too, but T1 JDG, when that series happened, I have very rarely heard a set of fans between LCK and LPL really just test the volume as much as that. And it's just a good reminder, even into the early rounds here, that some of these teams, they have some fun fan bases which are really ready to get up and shout.
I will say I think the loudest fan base at MSI, from my memory, was definitely the Loud fans, which makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense, but good lord, I could hear them through my broadcast headset in the copper box. That was something else. As Iwandy steps forward, doesn't quite find his binding though. But I like the presence from Iwandy and Stay, trying to use the fact that, level 1 Bard with your passive plus your Qs, you can get some good damage out. AD carries have to respect it, but this ward, great stuff from OMG, spotting Heng out on his clear, so they'll have full information to work with.
I've just realized that the bus driver could well be the magical journey of Bard. That could be the bus driver skin. Talk about that as well. We can have, that'd be fantastic. Like, how there's the Winter Wonder one where you kind of become like a little penguin as you go through? Imagine if you just became like a little bus or something. Fantastic. Look, I love this stuff. It's great. I want to see more of these transport skins. It would make me happy on a personal level.
And the heels are like tickets or something.
Yeah.
Or it's a bus pass that you can pick up. Oh dear. Yeah, I'd be here for it. I'd be here for it. The problem is, like, you got to have the whole kit themed, and I'm not sure that tempering time and stuff with the ultimate is particularly bus themable.
That's when the trains are cancelled and delayed. That's when the works on the tracks. You see, it all comes together at some point.
Wait, that you send a rail replacement bus flying across the rift to freeze time. It definitely feels like time's frozen when you're on one of those buses, that is for sure. Let's talk pathing though. Let's talk junglers here. As Hunger? I can't speak. Heng on the bottom side of the map will be able to go for the Scuttle Crab. You can see XiaoFang going for the opposite, heading towards that top side.
We don't have Hook City this time. Because we don't have Hook City, it's much harder to actually play around bot side itself. However, if you're not playing around bot side, it leaves openings to go towards different areas of the map as Iwandy. As you do on Bard, you forget that your lane partner exists, and you go elsewhere. You just go roam across the map. You need to see if you can get more value out of that this game, though. You couldn't get that much value out of the Blitzcrank last game. Don't actually think that was Iwandy's fault. I'm actually going to throw that finger up towards the jungler. I know it's just trendy to blame the jungler, always has been, but it felt like very early into last game, Heng went too deep into the enemy jungle, got punished for it, and then suddenly Iwandy had no leads on the map to play around, to be kind of like roaming towards. They need to be much more careful in that regards now in the early game to make sure that Iwandy can continue to be a roaming threat a little later into the game.
Worth just quickly mentioning, in this bottom lane, you can see Stay has reset, as is XiaoFang. Potentially for a first Drake that could be significant, as Abel has yet to leave that bottom lane just yet. However, is on Aphelios and has Infernum, so still able to push that wave in for the time being. The jungler's obviously up on the top side, but could be an angle potentially for W to go for a Drake when Abel does go for his reset.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, OMG might take this chance now to go towards Grubs' first spawn. We will we'll see how that works out. You've also got the Tristana in mid lane, so I really don't think OMG want to be tangling towards bot side that much right now. You know, you've got the Zeri pushing in, you've got Bard being able to get those magical journeys for extra repositioning very early into the game as well. Tristana has got much more early power than Angel will do at this point in time, so he will head towards this dragon. However, they do have Lee Sin on the bot side of the map. Can potentially go for a steal at best. He has flash, it's not easy to burst him out. Might just look for a Q and an opportunistic smite.
Yeah, you can't actually see anything right now as FoFo falls behind and levels slightly. That is that power combo of the ultimate, followed by the bolt to get your passive off and get huge burst damage. Angel doing well on this way to punish in the mid lane. Big damage on FoFo.
The more I see Hui, the more I just get afraid that this champion will just scale into infinity and do ridiculous damage late game. I have to say though, of the newer champion releases, I think Hui is one of the ones I'm most happy with. The more I think about Hui, yes, he's quite complicated in terms of like looking towards like...
Wait, is Wayward going to ult mid off of a Q if FoFo goes... I mean, FoFo is just going to die. Okay. The weird TP for Wayward. He wants to go on to Angel here. Gets the knock up. Heng flashes to get the twisted advance. Set up for success. A roam from Wayward on the Rex side. Sets up for a kill in the mid lane.
Nice stuff. So Wayward gets into the play, and you know, as much as saying, oh, you know, of the recent releases, I like players of champion. WWE do not care for this champion in this game. At least they had it in the last one. They'd much rather OMG have a Hui that's playing from behind. So XiaoFang now, as a result of this, couldn't get towards early dragon, can't get towards that topside scuttle. Did at least get the grubs early into the game though, so that's 3, and then with the Severum Crescendum from Abel on the bot side, able to chew through a tower plate and get something for himself down there. He's back for boots first as well. That's really important in this kind of game where it feels like the engage from WE is not that easy to land, because you have, you know, typically it'd be Maokai, but you have a cleanse coming in from Ppgod's ult later into the game. You have a Bard ult. That is something you can walk out of with those boots first. So I look at this now and I think that Abel, if you can kind of stand behind Ppgod, I really think this Aphelios, if he manages to get fed in this game, can do some really, really nice damage. Yep. If you can stay safe with mobility.
I think the point you were trying to make about Hui as well is kind of exemplified.
Oh yeah, I tried
honestly.
before he died. Yeah, go on.
Like, hang on, we've got... I've tried to make the point
yeah,
and immediately it all
go on,
kicks
try
off.
again.
But the point of Hui being like a successful champion in the LPL, but not in a really oppressive, horrible way. You know, I don't feel like Hui is necessarily problematic in the game right now. You know, he's quite strong, but I don't think that he's like, you know, we've had other new champions this year into the game that have been far more problematic. But I feel like, you know, Wayward roaming down to punish the lack of mobility. Like, Hui has clear weaknesses as well. We really literally get a case study of that from WE with a really nice mid lane gank coming out from Wayward. It does feel like a successful champion, but also a punishable champion, and that is exactly what you want to see in Pro.
One that's also just enjoyable to play. I mean, it feels like when you're playing well at Hui, you feel like you've accomplished something because you've used that. There was that one clip, I think it was Faker, who used every single one of Hui's like 9 individual abilities, like for their specific purpose in one 2-minute clip. When you get plays like that, you just feel really good. You feel like you've walked away with some kind of like educational certificate at that point. Like, I have my PhD in League of Legends mid lane maneuvers.
Yeah, it does feel like you need a PhD to get that kind of combo off. Lwandy, potentially another roam towards Angel.
He's on vision.
Heng's on the top side as well, but I don't think Angel's going to fall for this one. Just buys himself a bit of space there. He is totally alone. You can see XiaoFang, Abel, and Ppgod had all reset, so he was not far off alone on the map, to be honest, for WE to try and find this play. I like the timings that WE are looking for this game to find angles. You know, the roam from Wayward into the mid lane. Now we're seeing Lwandy and Heng trying to punish recalls as well.
One thing which I'm just really quite happy about is that, you know, we started off the day trying to talk about how both these teams have played and how they've kind of adapted to 2024, or at least kind of managed to find their ways around the problems that they've individually been having with 2024. The thing which I'm happy with is that they've kind of stuck to that. There's been no big drastic change between regular season and playoffs for these two teams. OMG, they get away with the fact that they're not always the best at playing through big objective setups and XYZ, because they play such big kill first target pylon team comps that they don't need to have perfect setup. They just need to get an angle onto one target and that works. We saw that in Game 1. Game 2, though, we're seeing this from WE. When they get themselves a bit of a reprieve in bot side and Nymeara gets back out onto the map, it really feels like WE can start to make a lot more big plays while they have Nymeara on the roam. They're not always the best at doing that when Nymeara can't get out of lane. If he's shut down, because like WE get shut down with it. But I'm glad that they're showcasing a lot of the gameplay that we've known them for in spring. They are kind of, it makes our job easier because they're known quantities at that point.
Yeah, it certainly does. As you see, on the top side, Wayward is proxying against Udyr. That's right, you can believe your eyes. This is what Rek'Sai can do once you finish that Hollow Radiance. You just one-shot the minion waves. Not even Udyr can stop you at that point. So taking a tower play, that's got to feel good for Wayward. Especially after how sideways the previous game ended up going. Didn't feel like there was a lot he could individually do on that Rek'Sai against the competition they were up against. But WE, so far so good. Nice slow start when you've got double AD carry comp with turbo frontline in your top side. Definitely feels good to be stacking these Drakes up.
Oh, absolutely, because later into the game, you know, if we've said that OMG, they're not always best at finding their own objective setups. They just kind of wait till someone shows on they wait until they can find like an angle onto a single target. They don't really get that luxury if they're fighting for a Mountain Soul early into the game while they're behind in gold or behind in positioning on the map. So WE, getting early dragons, that kind of potentially puts OMG into a weak point for themselves stylistically. What could help them, though, is if Abel gets to do huge amounts of items, because this Aphelios in this team composition can do some pretty horrific things. I don't think there are easy ways to get on top of him, I mean, particularly when you're stood behind the Milio. Markai's not going to help. You're really relying on a flash knockup from Wayward or a great setup from Lwandy. Easier said than done, though.
Potentially threatening a dive is XiaoFang, but I don't think that's something that they can realistically pull the trigger on. They will just get themselves a plate. WE get themselves those 3 grubs. So still feels like a positive play for WE. Obviously, OMG trying to answer in that bottom side, but realistically, there's not a whole lot you can do. With a Bard there, diving is always a little bit dangerous.
Yeah, it is, particularly since you can just, you know, you've got the heal on there as well. Heal Guardian. It's actually a lot more peel and tankiness than you typically expect to come out from a Bard. In fact, one of the problems with Bard right now is that he can build really quite tanky and still do a bajillion damage with his nukes as well. So, yeah, you just have to pay a little bit of respect there. So, and they do, and that's completely fine. Still, Abel's going to walk back with his next base, and he'll be pretty happy after that point with a couple of plates being put into tow. I think as soon as we get one item on Abel, I think at that point OMG might start scrapping a little bit more. Abel really can just take down anyone who walks up in front of him.
Wayward just walks in, grabs himself a turret plate, tunnels out, drops in a boat. the true
My job here is
of,
done.
he's basically playing Gnar, but instead it's Rek'Sai. But the strategy remains extremely similar. I don't really want to fight you, I kind of just want to hit your tower right now. Fantastic stuff coming out from Wayward. A much better start to things than what we saw in game number 1.
It's like the guy which goes around to people's places, not because he likes his friends, because he likes their houses. He's just like, this is a nice place to hang out. I'll have that tower, please.
Yeah, walks away with the gold. Just like the guy that goes to the houses, you know, stealing everything. Absolutely terrible person. Is that a real person? Do you know anyone like that? I'm not sure any of my friends ever would.
Okay, whoa, no. There's a difference between someone's like, I like hanging out with this person because their place is nice, rather than them. And there's a difference between that and I steal their stuff. That's what we call a thief, Joe. That's what we call a criminal.
Listen, in Doncaster, there's always a risk. There's always a risk.
Hey,
yeah.
you said it on me. You said it on me. I'm leaving that one in
I
your
don't know
hands.
anyone from Doncaster that is not aware of where they are from. It is what it is. It is what it is. But in the meantime, WE tried to steal control. Great segue there, as they get some deep vision on OMG's bot side jungle. Does feel like a bit of a tougher start for OMG. They are falling slightly behind, and WE very much in control right now. They will scale into things with an Aphelios in a way. I do feel like we're kind of set up for some quite nice 5v5s later on in the game.
Yeah, I don't think it's a straight out scale from OMG or W.
No.
You know, I think you've got double AD carries on one side, you have double mixed damage carries on the other side, and when you have mixed damage, yes, that will definitely help in terms of itemization for particularly Cube in terms of being able to stay in that front line. But Maokai's going to be tankier than XiaoFang, which means that that's part of a front line advantage. You have good gold onto the side of Stay here as well, so that's the first turret of the game being taken for him. Which now brings us to a very exciting prospect of, okay, it will be kind of based on execution. Now, I do think that Angel and Abel can position a lot easier versus the enemy team composition because they have longer, well, I think Angel at least has longer active range when Abel has the rifle turrets, then he will have extra range as well to play around. So WE need to be very aware of how the enemy carries are positioning, but if they can force them to be playing very defensively and flashing away and being respectful of Rek'Sai going towards knockups, then I think WE can really run down fights where the enemy carries are not doing optimal damage. FoFo and Stay with the mobility in longer fights with the resets and then the lightning crash giving the stacking movement speed as well, that is very, very dangerous for OMG if they don't manage to get themselves a good start to a fight.
Certainly can be. Third Drake though coming up now. WE got the first two, and it feels like OMG showing a bit more presence on that side of the map. He just runs at FoFo and rinses him. FoFo is going to have to go back to base here. Does have his TP available, has that enhanced recall because he helped with the Herald as well. So will be able to potentially be a part of the Dragon play, but maybe he needs to TP top because Cube is going to threaten a tower here.
Yeah, I think OMG, they don't want to give over a third Dragon. They really don't want the Soul Point going over early. But the problem is they don't have great position for it. So, Abel, Angel, has to be about their positioning. Cube's not full HP either. That's not going to help.
Oh, XiaoFang went real deep for that one. Has to flash back out of the play, but Stay is free firing and stacking that lightning. It's too easy for WE as they charge forwards for more. Ppgod and Angel should be able to walk away, but that's 3 Drakes plus some kills for WE.
Fantastic barn ult from Lwandy in the middle of that too. Locks up Abel, stops OMG from being able to pile on in the way that they always want to. So OMG, they don't get themselves an important fight. They are now against an early soul point from WE. 16.5 minutes, that's one of the earliest stacks that I've seen in the last few weeks. Yeah. Now it really feels like WE, they're going to get a huge explosion of gold, and they've managed to play a very controlled style so far. Even getting the Herald to jump forwards again for a second. Oh no, it's not, because he's died to turret.
Okay, well, you've got a Bard on the team, so they're going to be fine anyway. It did feel a little bit dicey. In the meantime, though, Wayward hitting onto a tier 2. He's got 3 grubs to work with. I think this tower is going to go down because it's so hard to punish a Rek'Sai anyway. Like, what could Cube do to stop Wayward just walking away?
Absolutely nothing. So, grand scheme of things, here, like in the grand picture of things, we've got a huge amount of turrets, Dragon and kills going the way of Team WE. But watch what happens when we go in towards like the big start of this fight. No, XiaoFang doesn't land his kick on to Stay, and then you have the bot lane locked up by a huge bard ult. There's no Infernal ult to come through here. That could have been a big moment. One item already put up from Abel. They can't stand, they can't fight, they can't do the damage. WE get themselves a really, really good step forward in this game, which is important because game 1, that felt like it went straight into OMG's comfort zone. Game 2 here, much more controlled with Lwandy having a big say on the game in terms of how it's set up. That's going into the comfort zone of Team WE now.
I felt like, honestly, the biggest difference just watching passively here is like Wayward actually being a part of the early game in a way that he wasn't in the previous game. Like the roam to mid lane, then roaming into the jungle with Lwandy to set up vision before the Drake comes out. This kind of thing, so valuable. As WE look for something on the top side. OMG are here to answer it though. And Angel will survive the play.
Wayward
or will they?
The same though. Wayward is getting involved in the early game and he's here again.
He's trying to make it happen. He is pretty tanky already, and they just run. They just run, and I think that's all they can do. This FoFo will finish tower on the top side. Great movements around the map here from WE. That'll be their fourth tower of the game.
Fourth, yeah.
The overlay was slightly delayed. It made me second guess myself. But yeah, I mean, this is just a great game. And to be honest, when we were coming into the series, kind of criticizing the macro of both of these teams, feels nice to see this map movement from WE.
Yeah, and I mean, well, if we're going to criticize WE in game 1 and say, you know, after the early game fell apart, they had no options. Part of that's through draft, right? But no, a lot of that was through Heng kind of getting caught out in the enemy jungle. In game 2, you know, you see here just around the top side play, OMG kind of panic and rush towards top side, which means that as WE take that top turret, there's no crossfire. OMG have not taken a single turret yet, and they might get collapsed on the mid lane as well.
Look at this from WE, just charging forward to the mid lane. Wayward finds the flank. He's the mobile radar. And he manages to find a pick in the mid lane to Stay. Be a little careful with the damage from Angel there, but he gets out with his life. Has that bit of movement speed from the fleet footwork, so he'll be totally fine. And the wave clear with a static shiv and a hurricane. Those waves don't last long.
That they do not. Wayward keeping up 100% kill participation in this game. We were talking about how he is very important that he is getting involved in this early game. He's been doing that again. Very importantly so, WE, they've really been playing well around Lwandy and Wayward this whole split. Lwandy starts to roam, Wayward roams to the players as well. He does it yet again, gets off of vision, has the tremor sense, of course, as Rek'Sai as well, to really scout people out. Spots it here, double knockup with the AoE knockup now added back into Rek'Sai's kit. Combos up for a kill onto Ppgod. Wonderful stuff. It's night and day between game 1 and game 2.
It really has been. To be honest, game number 1, I think a lot of people have been watching thinking, Rek'Sai, really? Is this as good as it gets? Game number 2 is like, oh, okay, I get it now. I see why this pick has the priority that it has. I see why it's so favored in LCK and elsewhere around the world as well. 3 Drakes though, and the next one's spawning in 40 seconds. WE are so far ahead in gold, it's ridiculous. 6,000 to 21 minutes with only 4 kills on the scoreboard. This has just been WE pretty much outclassing OMG in the early game.
And for me, the big difference here between game 1 and game 2 is that Stay and Lwandy were not pressured at all in bot side. Stay's walking away with 3 kills. Lwandy's been roaming across the map. They've not had to worry about being pinned into lane, and WE is sieging in again. They're playing towards artillery. They're playing towards a little bit more long range as well. They can throw Bard and Malachi's forward, stay behind their double gunners. Zeri, Tristana. It really feels like OMG don't have many options to engage into them, which is, you know, completely flipped from game 1 as well. It was WE struggling to engage. What do you do here as OMG? You do have 2 items enabled. Lord dominates regards very early to take down frontline. I don't think that's going to be enough, though. WE are going to be winning all big group fights, I think.
OMG are just going to try and brute force Baron.
Giving up Soul for it.
This is a red and white Aphelios to try and make this happen. And actually, no, Soul not taken by WE. They respect the threat of the Baron and peel off of the Drake. Wayward on his way as fast as humanly possible, or as void beastly possible, as Heng uses that ultimate. Lwandy freezes time. Can they get in time? Baron down to 4k, but peeled off now by OMG as WE just charge forwards. Stay has so much damage flashing onto the enemy carries. Ppgod falls, and a buster shot to blow this game wide open. This ain't far off a perfect game for WE.
Oh, it's damn close. They gave up some grubs, but that's about it. But all grub is up for WE. It feels like they chow down on OMG across the map. They're going to get themselves a whole host of kills, get themselves Baron, they can back off, they can get themselves Dragon. It was a Hail Mary from OMG, but they are not going to go quietly into the night. That's one thing you can praise about that. But they are still definitely going into the night after that one. This game is very, very well and truly out of control. I think OMG, as a team, they're not a team that gracefully loses.
No.
They try and make a single power play to get themselves back into it. This is why, folks, OMG are actually one of the fastest average game time teams in the LPL. Now, notice I didn't say average win time. Average game time. When they lose, they explode. Lwandy is the architect of this demolition this time. Perfect ultimate yet again. His Bard has been banned for a number of games because of this. Stops the Baron being rushed down, buys time for everyone else to come in, gets a double stun after this point, locks up Abel, the one true carry of OMG. And that's it. Lights out.
Not a lot Angel can do to escape there. It's just started just wailing on him as well. Lwandy was even there to try to follow up in case Angel had somehow got away. And that's Soul, another ult lands. Lwandy tempering the fates of OMG as he sets up for another fantastic play. Even survives the dive from XiaoFang. Abel just about alive, but Wayward doesn't like that fact. FoFo finishing the kill in the end as XiaoFang now chased out of the top side of the play. And FoFo KS's the kill to finish the job. 10-0 on the scoreboard. More than 10 in terms of thousands of gold ahead in their game. Mid inhib broken with the death timers. I'm pretty sure they just end. This was a massacre. WE coming back strong in game number 2, and absolutely nothing OMG can do about it. What a masterclass from Team WE.
Dominant from start to finish in game number 2.
No!
They lose themselves
The
one kill.
killless game! Ruined by Wayward on the fountain.
Oh, Wayward. Oh, Wayward, what have you done? It could have been a deathless game for your team, for yourself. You know what? I don't think they're going to begrudge him that too hard. They walk away with an insanely dominant game number 2. Now, we called out a number of factors to that. I think the differences in bot lane, I think that really does help with them. I think that OMG struggled to have as many good go buttons themselves this time. Very hard for them to engage with something like Emilio as opposed to playing around pick potential of something like that Thresh. I wonder now going into draft number 3 whether we're going to see OMG give themselves a couple more of those go buttons so they're not just sat there waiting for the fight to come to them, because Team WWE showed exactly what that means.
It feels like we've had 2 dramatically different style games of League of Legends here so far in the series. OMG, though, their heads are going to be spinning off the back of that loss. That was a tough one to witness. It does mean that on my hands, there is a series now. 1-1 on the scoreboard. We're going to go into a break.